Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I'm bringing you my Springathon TBR that is ridiculous and very ambitious. I will never be able to read all of these books during a two-week period, let alone the entire month of May. But I have been getting a few new nature nonfiction books this year, and some of them at the end of last year, and I've just sort of been saving them and putting them to the side for this particular time of the year. So I am just going to share with you some of the books that I'm looking at reading and will be choosing from, and it's entirely possible that I will be reading books that are not in this list. These are just the ones that are that are calling to me at the moment and that I wanted to share with you and maybe give you some ideas of books that you have that you could potentially pick up or that you might have missed. So I will start off with the ones that I don't have physical copies of. One of the books that I would love to read that I have ordered, but I don't know if it will actually be able to get to me in time. How I Became a Tree by Samana Roy, and I think this is an Indian author. It says, drawn to trees' wisdom, their non-violent way of being, their ability to cope with loneliness and pain, Roy movingly explores the lessons that writers, painters, photographers, scientists, and spiritual figures have gleaned through their engagement with trees. Hailed upon his original publication in India and as a love song to plant and trees, How I Became a Tree blends literary history, theology, philosophy, botany, and more. It just sounds like a fantastic book. I am both interested in reading nature writing from different parts of the world and different ethnicities and other aspects to the writer, but also the actual perspective they're coming from with their look at nature, which is something I've sort of dabbled in last year and want to make more of a priority in my reading going forward, particularly when it comes to this genre. And I read a sample of this and loved the writing style, so I think this is gonna be quite poetic. And then I have a few audiobooks that I have recently bought that I thought would be perfect for the Springathon and that I've sort of been saving as well. So the first one is the most recent acquisition and publication. It's Birds and Us by Tim Burkhead, and I think it's just a bird nonfiction book. I don't know much about this particular book other than it's sort of a history of birds and their evolution, I think, because from memory it talks about the origins of birds in the dinosaurs and everything. So I am guessing this is going to be sort of a historical lens on this type of animal. And I love reading about birds, as you might know already. And I listened to a sample of this one and really liked the narration. I'm very picky when it comes to narration of audiobooks, I've realized. I think it's become even worse with time. Last year I sort of moved away somewhat from audiobooks and started reading them less and less, and these days I am very picky when it comes to the narration and clicking with the narration immediately. And from this one, I listened to the sample and didn't want to stop listening, so I knew that this was one that I needed to get. Two audiobooks that I also have physical copies of, but I will probably be listening to these on audio either during the Springathon or during the summer. So we have Landmarks by Robert McFarlane, which is a book all about nature words. Words related to nature and sort of the linguistic aspect of our relationship with nature, which is two of my favorite topics being connected into one book. And I thought this would really work well with an audiobook because it's talking about language. And hearing all of the words I think would make more sense. But I also have a feeling I will be annotating a lot, so I'm glad that I have a physical copy as well. And I have read parts of Underland by this author and also his Lost Words, that is sort of a connected book to this one. And like a lot of I enjoy a lot of Robert McFarlane's ideas and thoughts, so I suspect I will really enjoy this. The other book that I also have an audiobook version of is The Walker's Guide to Outdoor Clues and Signs by Tristan Gooley. I was first recommended this one by Andrea from Infinite Text. I will link her channel in the particular video where she recommended this one below. And this is a book all about outdoor clues and signs, basically how to read nature, how to see like particular signs and what they mean in the weather and in the nature around you. And because it is sort of almost a practical type of book in sort of reading things and observing in your real environment, or at least that is how I'm planning to use it to really implement some of the things that I'm reading. I haven't picked it up yet, but I think audiobook would work well for that because I could listen to it while I'm outside. That is my plan with this one. Also, I forgot to mention the prompts for the previous books, but with this one in particular, this is definitely fitting for the activity prompt. And for landmarks, maybe connectivity, because it is talking about language and the connectivity between language and nature and how we see things through that lens. How I Became a Tree is kind of connectivity as well, and how definitely diversity, which I kind of talked about as well. And what else? The Birds and Us, connectivity as well, because it's about our relationship with birds, as well as sustainability probably. I'm assuming it's talking about conservation because it's taking the long take on birds. So yeah, I am clearly doing well at this. But yeah, this is, I am thinking of this primarily as activity because I am planning to read this and implement what I'm reading in real activity in nature. I don't think this goes into foraging. It's more about sort of understanding the things you're seeing in context of what they mean in nature, which sounds really fun to me. Then we have the books that I have physical copies of and that I'm actually planning to read in physical copy as well. So we have Why We Swim by Bonnie Tsui. This is a continuation of all of my swimming related books. Like many of you already know, I love reading about swimming. For some reason, it's one of those topics that I get really engaged with. And it's funny because I'm not a big swimmer myself, but there's something about this topic that brings out something really magical and meditative in writers, I find. So this is my newest acquisition in this genre of this niche genre of nature-related nonfiction, and this obviously fits well with the activity prompt as well. Diversity definitely in the sense that it includes information and anecdotes from different parts of the world, and connectivity again because it's a global story of the importance of swimming and the purpose that it serves in human lives. So sounds absolutely fantastic. Next up we have a book that when I started reading nature nonfiction, one of the areas that I was particularly drawn to was reading about animals and particularly predators, and this sort of fits into those types of books that I was reading early on. And so we have No Beast So Fierce, The Champawat Tiger and Her Hunter, The First Tiger Conservationist by Dane Huckelbridge. I actually received this one as a gift from my friend, and I have a suspicion that I will really enjoy this. It sort of the synopsis of this makes me think that it might be similar to The Great Soul of Siberia in sort of a close take on this particular species and the relationship that the humans living around it has with the tiger. So it says, in Nepal at the turn of the century, the single deadliest animal in recorded history began stalking humans, moving like a phantom through the lush foothills of the Himalayas. No Beast So Fierce is the gripping true account of the Champawat tiger and of Jim Corbett, the legendary hunter who pursued her, then dedicated his life to the protection of her kind. So it definitely sounds like this would be suitable for sustainability, and because it's talking about conservation and the sustainable relationship that humans can have with the nature around them and with the ecosystems around them. Next, I have a book that I bought about a month ago with a particular intention of reading it for the Springathon. It is called Michelle the Giant, An African in Greenland by Tete and Michelle Kopmomasi. And this is a stunning edition as well that just came out this year, I think. And this is a memoir of a man who, I think he moves to Greenland, and he sort of, it's basically like a travel memoir to Greenland and his observations of the place. It says, from the moment the young Tete Michel Kopmatsi read about Greenland in a bookshop in 1950s Togo, he became obsessed with traveling to this distant glacial wilderness of snow and midnight sun. Michel the Giant is his captivating account of his years-long journey over land and sea from West Africa to the Arctic Circle, how he learned the Inuit way of life in a frozen world and discovered what it means to belong. This sounds like it could be so beautiful, so I have been wanting to read this one for years, and finally, when this edition came out, it was available in my local bookstore. Definitely connectivity in the sense that he is connecting with the local indigenous population as well and learning from them. So this sounds, as I said, like it could be absolutely fantastic as memoir goes, and combining nature and travel with memoir. The next one is another gift that I've gotten. This was a birthday gift from last year. And it is A Gardener's Latin, the language of plants explained by Richard Bird. And again, this is combining language with nature. So again, two of my favorite topics being connected. Every gardener needs to know their Latin names. They may look confusing at first, but once you understand what certain keywords mean, impenetrable sounding and hard to pronounce names are suddenly demystified. More than just a dictionary of plant names, this fascinating book explains the meaning of hundreds of Latin plant terms. It's fun because I actually studied Latin for a term at university some years ago. I don't remember much of it, but I remember really enjoying feeling like you understand so many languages just based on the Latin roots. So this fits with activity, of course, because gardening is this type of activity, and with connectivity in the sense that Latin is, as I said, a language that connects so many other countries and languages. It's sort of the language roots of so many languages. A beautiful, beautiful edition that I could see myself sort of dipping in and out of this during the month of May. Lastly, we have another sea-related book, or ocean-related book, water-related book, because I can't get enough of marine-related content, apparently. So we have Sea Shaken Houses, a lighthouse history from Eddystone to Fastnet by Tom Nancolas, and this is a book about sea houses, as you can tell from the title. And I've been wanting to read this one for ages and have been so close to buying it for many times, and then I saw it in a local book sale at the beginning of the year, and again obviously needed to buy it. So since I bought it in February, I think it was, I put it immediately to the side for the Springathon, so I haven't even thought of reading it before the Springathon. And sea houses as a topic is something that fascinates me, but anything really related to marine life and to waters and oceans and seas and swimming is something that I'm automatically more interested in. So I've heard also really good things about this one, but it just feels like it is entirely my kind of thing. So hopefully I'll get to it, but we'll see, because obviously I have a lot of books in this pile. So those are the books that I could potentially be reading during the Springathon this year. I would love to know if you've read any of these and your thoughts, so I can maybe prioritize some books over others, or if you're particularly interested in my thoughts on any of these so I can prioritize them. Again, let me know in the comments below. And have you started making your own TBR for Springathon? I would love to see it. So if you've made a video or anything like that, definitely leave a link to it. And you can of course also just share in a comment. I would love to know what you are planning to read and discuss all things nature writing with you. So that was all I wanted to say. I will link the announcement for the Springathon in the description as well if you need more information about the readathon and you haven't heard already. And that was all I wanted to say. Hope you're doing well and taking care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.